Let's go over to our man, Mr. Basil Chapman, as we do each and every Tuesday at 20 past the hour. Don't forget, folks, Basil has an outstanding show here every trading day, 12 to 1 Eastern Standard Time. Also a great newsletter, the opening call. Now, the way you get the opening call, folks, just come over to our website at TFNN. You're going to go into newsletters. You're going to see the opening call by our man, Mr. Basil Chapman. You can hit subscribe. You get the opening call for 1 month for $128. You get it for, oops, there we go. We get it for 6 months for $595, which is a savings of $173. You get it for a year for $995, which is a savings of $541. They all come with a 30-day money-back guarantee, folks. Great newsletter. Check it out. Basil Chapman, what's going on? Happy Labor Day.
Thank you very much. You too. How are you doing?
Well, we're doing good. I mean, we missed that bullet, you know.
Wow.
You know, those poor people in the Bahamas, man.
Terrible.
That's like something unheard of, that the storm doesn't even move, folks. 1 mile an hour. You know, I've been in plenty of hurricanes, man. I can't imagine a hurricane banging out 150-mile-an-hour winds for 2 days. That's
but
sick.
You can imagine the noise, let alone the wind. Just listening to that for so long, it's like sitting on the wing of an airplane. It's unbelievable.
It is, man. It is, no doubt. So, what are we going to look at here?
Well, we're looking at the Dow, as always. Looking on the left side is the daily chart, in the middle is the weekly, and on the right is the monthly. And there's a pattern that I drew some time ago, and that was in the Chapman Wave methodology. We very often look at a pattern where there's a sharp pullback, and then there's an lowercase h pattern where the left side is tested. If that's tested successfully, meaning that it doesn't even go to the left side low, but it holds above it, there could be a rally, and that rally could go above the previous arch. Otherwise, what you do is you get a second H, which looks like a lowercase m. But there are times, it isn't that frequent, but there are times where there's a third H that forms, and that's really what we're looking at. So essentially what I'm thinking for some time now, and we went short and started going short, actually the Dow 7 points from the all-time high, still have a short position, but this is going to be very important. I'm anticipating that there's a rectangle, and you can see what I've done here is I've outlined the pattern itself, but inside here between 26,000, I'd say between 26,500 and in the shorter term is 25,800, there's really a key support, and that's this 200-period exponential moving average, this orange line right here. But we could even go down towards the 25,500 or even 25,300s again. So I'm thinking that I have an expression that says a rectangle formation can last a lot longer than your patience as you go from the top of the channel to the bottom of the channel, then back again. And that's kind of what we've done. I'm hoping that this is going to be a sideways consolidation that's taking time more than many more points. We won't know for it. I'd like to see what happens by this Friday, because if you look at the weekly chart, the MACD, the moving average convergence divergence, is very weak. And if you look at the slow stochastic, it's down at 47%. I'm not sure we're going to close everything out here by only going to 47% and then rallying. I suspect we're going to go somewhat lower in the stochastic. So far, I'm looking at the chance of another H pattern forming, but in the weekly chart. So that's going to be very important. The monthly chart, we've had a 9-month consolidation from January of 2018 high to the high of October of 2018 at 26,951. Had that really sharp 5,000-point drop to the December low. 9 months later, we make that July high of 27,398, and now we're consolidating. And if you remember, I was looking at August as a potential for a red candle, meaning that we would see a peak in the monthly chart. So we've got that. Now we've just, this is not even the first couple of hours of September, let alone the whole of September. So we've got a long way to go. But I suspect that we're going to consolidate for a little while longer. So that's the Dow. As far as the, remember there was a stock that we were long, it's a REIT, it's the Tower REIT, it's called Crown Castle Corporation. Yes. It's trading right now at 147.21. In the Chapman Wave, we're always looking for 4 higher peaks. That is where you get to a peak D, other things can happen. Well, we went to a leg C and then a peak C at 148.80. You can see a very nice candle today. It's up $2. I suspect we're going to squeak to a slightly higher high of 148. 81 or higher. That's where we've got to be somewhat careful here, and that finally we could start to see a consolidation. But if you look at the REITs in general, they're doing very nicely with the XLU, which is the utility index. So far, we're long from the 135s, and it's already hit the 148s. I think it's going to go a little higher than that, and then we'll see what happens. And if you remember, we were looking at the dollar. We've been long the dollar there for subscribers to my opening call since April of 2018 at 90 via the UUP, which is the trading vehicle. So it made a new recovery high today. It had a high of 99.37, so it's done very nicely. I've got this as a leg C in the daily and a leg C in the weekly, and a leg D in the monthly. So the dollar's acted very well, and it's interesting because I'd like to separate the dollar as, I call it the Harley-Davidson icon of the currencies, and not that it's related to Harley-Davidson, the stock, which is doing terribly, just the icon around the world.
Right.
So I think it's doing very well because it's representing the economy as one of the better economies in the world. And if you look at the TLT, that has to do with the international demand for bonds, which is pushing the yields down. So I don't know how the United States is going to stop that, because it's really an international demand. So that's something separate. And if you look at gold, I treat gold as almost like a currency of fear. Look how nicely it's done, and yet it's so surprising. Very seldom you get such big moves in gold and the dollar in the same direction. So I've been, for a long time, for about a year, I've been trying to separate them as different issues. Gold is gold, dollar is dollar, and yields are yields. I don't think they happen to sometimes coordinate, but I think this is something, these are separate, they're individual in their own responses to what's happening internationally. So we're still long the dollar, as I say. And we're still long a bank, but the banks have not been doing well. The XLF, this one for us is still up very nicely, about over 10%, but the banks are not doing very nicely at all.
Negative rates are not going to help banks, that's for sure. Hey, let me ask you something. You know, like when you look at the S&P, Basil, right? And,
yes.
you know, like what happened last week is that, you know, it comes up to that 50-day moving average and gives it up. And it's like at the lower end of this consolidation that we're talking about is almost the 200. So it's kind of interesting, man. You don't see that too often. That, you know, I mean, it failed at the 50 on the way up. And then it's like, okay, what are you going to do on the other side? You know what I mean? It's like...
So if you look at this chart from the high that was made at 28.72 back in January of 2018, then it dropped sharply to about 23.58. Then it ran up to 29.40 in September. Remember, the Dow made its high in October. Yeah. This made it high just a little before in September, and then it pulled back very sharply to about 20% to the 23.46 level in December. And then it made a new recovery high. But look at this trend line. You see this thick trend line right here? So I have a lot of respect for trend lines, and I show my subscribers every day. I show them how to draw them, where we're drawing them, and you can see how it bumped into, it's what I would call the Chapman Wave inside track repellent zone. Yeah. And you can see this rising trend line in the S&P from December. It's having trouble right there.
Now that E you have, is that a daily E?
This E is a monthly.
Oh, it's even more intense. Folks, Basil, every trading day, new. Basil, thanks so much, man.